All right, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins, and let's talk about Tyreek Hill in particular. I've made plenty of videos on the Dolphins offense as a whole, so I've talked plenty about Tyreek Hill in doing that, but I figured, you know what? He deserves his own video, especially after the day he was having against Washington. Now, I actually already made it its own video, this play. I actually already made an entire video about this play in particular, but I took that more so from Washington's perspective. Not the smartest decision by them, as they're leaving Tyreek Hill one-on-one against a rookie second-round pick this past year who only has about 100 snaps entering the game. So definitely a good situation here for Miami. But what do good football teams do? Say it with me. Take advantage of their opponent's mistakes, and that's an opportunity for the Dolphins to do exactly that. Also, the safety on this play is shaded over towards the top of the screen, so that's something. But it's going to be actually a little detail I love from Miami's perspective here. As you see, Tua is going to take the snap. He's going to look over here, and you see that at this point, Tyreek Hill, one-on-one matchup, Tua's throwing it. It's a no-brainer. But how he throws this is pretty remarkable, as, he's making his decision now, right? The ball's coming out of his hand now. He doesn't know how open Tyreek Hill is going to get. So usually in these situations, you try to hit your receiver in stride. However, look at how Tua is going to do it. Watch as instead, he kind of underthrows it a little bit to allow Tyreek Hill to make sure he makes the grab, right? Because if you try to hit him in stride and you overthrow it a bit, well, now you've thrown an incomplete pass. But when you get, 5 yards open, well, then you just want to make sure you get the completion. You don't have to hit him in stride perfectly. And Tyreek Hill was so open, Tua was able to not hit him in stride, but Tyreek Hill still got the touchdown. And Tua knew, hey, it's Tyreek Hill. He's probably going to get really open. Let me make a throw like that. Really smart stuff by Tua, but it also just goes to show the absurd nature of Tyreek Hill, who just in a one-on-one matchup, Tua already treats that like as if there was no one covering him, essentially. The other long touchdown, let's start off with these before we get into some other plays. This was wild, where, interesting stuff what Tyreek Hill is doing here. You see him on a knee at this point. Not sure exactly what the whole point of this situation is, just in terms of kind of how he's, I get some of the point of this. Let me explain what I mean. You see Tyreek is then going to, after this kind of communication thing, go over towards the outside. And again, I'm not sure why he was on a knee there, but you see that when he gets to the outside, this now forces the Commanders, who are going to be in man coverage, to perform a switch. So the guy who they currently had on Tyreek Hill is now not going to be covering Tyreek Hill, which isn't a bad thing in this scenario. But it does mean that, listen, when you're covering Tyreek Hill, there's a specific way you have to cover him. When you realize last second you're about to cover him, you kind of have to shift into, okay, I'm covering Tyreek Hill mode now. Let me try and figure it out. Again, Tua is going to take the snap right here. It's kind of a wild blitz type situation. I actually think it might have even been zone coverage, but it's the same general concept either way. One thing I have to criticize Washington again for, though, is safety still not shading over towards Tyreek Hill. I mean, he already burned you on this once. What are you doing leaving him with one-on-one matchups? I mean, it's got to be coaching. If it happens once, it could be a player mistake. If it happens twice, it's coaching. And this has happened, the second time now here for Washington. So complete blunder. But again, it's one of those things where typically in a usual situation, you say, okay, we have a defender, we're running our defense. We're going to see if we can make this work, right? Like that's how you typically play this. And it's Kendall Fuller on Tyreek Hill. It's not a bad corner. Fuller's a good player. Like, in theory, hey, if it's Fuller on Justin Jefferson, it's like, okay, I get it. You thought you could beat him. If it's Fuller on Mike Evans, it's like, okay, I get it. You thought he could beat him. If it's Fuller on Tyreek Hill, it's like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Like that's just, there's the elite receivers, and then Tyreek Hill is one level above to where there's literally coverages you just shouldn't run. I don't care how good your corner is. As you see, Tua's throw is actually a bit of a weird one. Kind of goes, to the other side, but Tyreek Hill is still able to locate it. A little bit late, but he's able to locate it and gets another long touchdown. That one only 60 yards, so it's not their best play of the game. I mean, how crazy is that? That the 60-yard touchdown, not the best play of the game for the Dolphins. But heading over here, this is a unique scenario as well, so it's 3rd down and 6, and, zone coverage, Tyreek Hill is running a route over the middle. And this is kind of the counter argument that I'm sure Washington fans might say. Well, I think Washington fans are probably just as frustrated with their coaching as I am watching their tape. But maybe the Washington coaching staff might say, it's like, hey, listen, I get what you're saying. If we leave Tyreek Hill one-on-one, he can burn us down the field for a touchdown. But if we don't blitz Miami or try to create some unique scenarios, well, then they can just pick us apart with stuff like this. Watch how when Tua takes the snap, he's going to look over towards Tyreek Hill, who's now, they found a gap in coverage, and it's not even wide open, but it feels wide open when they're throwing it because of how well timed this is by Tua. And also, Tua throwing this one a little bit high because the most underrated aspect of Tyreek Hill's game is how he can locate the ball and make a contested catch. He's not just someone who's a speed guy. There's so much more to his game. And as you see, he is able to go up and make the grab, even makes the guy miss before finally getting tackled there on a 3rd down and 6, and they were able to, keep the drive alive there, largely due to the play of Tyreek Hill. And really, Tua did a great job on that one as well. Tua definitely deserves a lot of credit. So those two guys, doing a lot of good things. And this is kind of why I feel like the Tyreek Hill-Tua combination is in many ways perfect. On paper, you would think, no, the Mahomes-Tyreek Hill, that's the best situation, best deep ball thrower in the league, paired with the best deep ball receiver in the league. But in this scenario, having debatably the best kind of mid-range thrower of the football in the league with the best deep ball receiver, it means that you really have to pick your poison. With the Chiefs, it was obvious. You just don't let them go deep. But in this scenario, if you try to make sure you don't let them go deep, well, then Tua's going to pick you apart. It really is a pick your poison scenario. The pick your poison still is don't let Tyreek Hill go one-on-one because you see how that works, but it's not quite that simple. Also, something like this is just an interesting play, so you're going to see Tua flip the ball back to Tyreek Hill. Saw this a couple times, right? If we're evaluating the tape, can't just talk about the good plays, but even this is kind of like still a good play in a sense of, you saw it a couple times where they got the ball to Tyreek Hill in non-traditional ways, and Washington was all over it. Kind of in many ways, you talk about gravity, right? When there's a great receiver on the field, what typically happens is defensive players just happen to, like gravity, going towards a planet. You're just going towards that great receiver. I don't know if that's the case here or just coincidence. Saw it a couple times. Tyreek Hill found himself in trouble basically right here. As you see, he's going to do what he can. It still feels like it takes forever for him to get tackled. Did get tackled for a loss. Doesn't matter. Washington still scored a touchdown on that drive Miami still scored a touchdown on that drive because, of course, they did. So, yeah, incredible stuff. So, yeah, not exactly a hot take. Tyreek Hill, really good at football, but still a fun video to talk about. That's what I think about all this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.